everybody, Graham here. I feel kind of weird doing one of these without my flannel on, but I like this hoodie so much that I've been wearing it constantly. It's fun. Anyway, I have been following the Danny Masterson trial, as I think I've mentioned in at least one of my videos somewhere, and that has caused me to fall down the Scientology rabbit hole. Scientology is a great rabbit hole to fall down if you're into that kind of thing, because it is a deep, deep rabbit hole with lots of nooks and crannies to explore. But it got me thinking about an experience I had a few years ago that showed me just how easy it would be to fall into a cult. Now, I don't want to make too much of this. I don't want to try to put the idea out there that I was almost in a cult. I was involved with an organization that had previously been cultish. I don't know to what extent it still is, if any. It may not be at all. But I'll tell the story and it'll make more sense. So a bunch of years ago, this might be early 2000s sometime, or maybe late 2000s, I don't know. I'm bad at reckoning time like that. I decided that I wanted to take martial arts classes. And because I had done this when I was a kid, I enjoyed it, and I was feeling like I needed something to do, some exercise and that sort of thing. So I found a martial arts school that was not too far from where I lived, and I signed up for classes. Now, when I was going to this school and learning the martial arts, there were a few things that I found a little bit strange. For example, after class, we were before you left the dojo, you were supposed to stop into the office and talk to the head instructor briefly. And I always found these interactions to be really weird, because he would lock eyes with me and he'd never drop eye contact. And I felt like he was trying to get inside my head. And of course, at these, he would always try to sell me extra classes and stuff. So at one point, we had to go up to a different dojo to do a particular thing. I think it was one of those extra classes, but it was one that I was actually interested in. But we ended up going up to a different dojo with a different instructor, and went through the class and everything. But as I was in the locker room changing back into my clothes, I was kind of looking around, and I saw a piece of equipment that had a label on it. And the label was something that was related to the name of the school, but was different. Now, a relevant fact here is that at the time that this happened, I was experimenting with going off my antidepressants. And I have subsequently learned that when I try to do that, I have panic attacks. So that figures in here. But anyway, I got home and I Googled the name. And I discovered that the former name of this school under its former name, was thought to be a cult by a lot of people. And of course, being off my meds and prone to panic attacks, that's exactly what happened. I'm like, oh crap, I'm in a cult. And my stomach just sank and I had a full-blown panic attack right there. Looking back on it now, I know that was a huge overreaction. But the point of it is that had I not seen that label, had I not been curious enough to Google that name, I wouldn't have known any of this. And if the school were still a cult, then I could very well have been pulled into it. And so when people say, well, this Scientology stuff is so out there, how could anybody possibly buy it? There are circumstances that conspire to put you in a particular place. And when that happens, you can find yourself in a situation that, if you were looking at it from the outside, would seem completely absurd. But I know there were people who joined this martial arts school when it was a, when the culty stuff was going on, who were beaten. Supposedly one of the things they would do is, if you didn't sort of toe the line and agree with all of the stuff, they would, under the guise of tutoring you, they would have you fight much more advanced students, and, you'd get the crap kicked out of you. And you can't really do anything about it because it's a martial arts school. You expect to get hit. You expect to be put on the floor or whatever. So if you tell somebody, hey, they kicked the crap out of me at my martial arts school, all people really get from that is that you suck at martial arts. But yeah, I really just wanted to sort of throw it out there to just show how easy it is to slide into this sort of thing without realizing it. When I was in college in the late 80s, Scientology was really ramping things up at the time. And it was very common for people that I knew to talk about, being approached on the street and asked if they want to take a personality test, which is, Scientology's initial hook to get you in the door. And I can see how somebody who's maybe feeling a little bit ungrounded and has an open mind and is curious about things like psychology could get involved with that. So that's basically it. I just wanted to make this point that when you hear these stories about Scientologists doing these crazy things, signing billion-year contracts and things like that, they're not stupid people. They're people who slid into things, and by the time they figured out what was going on, they had been so thoroughly indoctrinated that it was hard for them to think that. And so it's doubly impressive when people get out of a situation like that. When I was panicking about this particular, the martial arts school thing, I called a cult organization, I don't remember who, and I told them what was going on, and they said, listen, there are only a few cults that actually will chase people down outside the cult. Most people who are in cults are there because they want to be there. Now, whether they want to be there because they're brainwashed or whatever, or if they want to be there organically or whatever, it doesn't really matter. They're there. They don't intend to leave. So, she told me I shouldn't worry about it. Everything will be fine. The head instructor emailed me a couple of weeks later and said, hey, where you been? And I said, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. And that was the end of it. And I never heard from him again. But man, it was scary. I'm sure it would have been a lot less scary if I hadn't been off my meds. But man, I was just freaked right out. Anyway, that's my story. And I may do more stuff on Scientology. I don't know. It's like I said, it's a deep rabbit hole, and there are people covering it who were actually Scientologists, so they have a lot more sort of inside knowledge of what day-to-day Scientology is like. But I'm fascinated just by the stuff that Hubbard wrote and the amount of it and how crazy it is. So I may or may not do that. If you want me to do that, let me know in the comments, because I'm really on the fence at this point. If I do it, it's gonna be a multi-part series because there's just so much to cover. And if I talk for more than about half an hour, my throat feels like it's about to fall out. So I'm gonna have to do it in chunks. So yeah, let me know if you want me to do that. And I will probably check in again when there's more news on the Masterson trial, because I believe that resumes tomorrow. So yeah, we'll see you there. Talk to you in the next one. Graham out. Bye.